now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today is New Release Saturday, so I'm going to be discussing a new release film still currently in theaters. And today I'm going to be discussing Where the Crawdads Sing, starring Daisy Edgar Jones, Taylor John Smith, Harris Dickinson, Michael Hyatt, Sterling Macer Jr., and David Strathairn. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. As I said during the introduction, it's New Release Saturday. I'm going to be discussing a new release film still currently in theaters, and today's film is Where the Crawdads Sing. And as our movie opens, Kaya Clark is a resourceful young girl growing up in the North Carolina marsh on the coast during the 1950s. Kaya's family is poor, and she and her siblings live in a shack with their alcoholic and abusive father who gambles their money away. As her mother and her older siblings flee one by one due to the abuse, Kaya ends up left all alone with her father. Now, over time, her father does soften up some, but then he abandons her as well, without warning, just a few weeks after the only day that she ever spends at school. Now, at the age of 7, Kaya finds herself all alone, but she learns to survive by selling mussels from the marsh in order to buy food and gas for her boat. Now, the townspeople of Barkley Cove know very little about Kaya, so they nickname her the Marsh Girl. On the same day that her father leaves, Kaya takes the boat out as far as the ocean and then turns around, but she gets lost trying to find her way back home. Luckily for her, she comes upon a slightly older boy named Tate Walker, who guides her back home safely. Now, Tate was a friend of Kaya's older brother, Jody, and has known Kaya ever since she was young. Tate then begins to visit Kaya in the marsh, and they become good friends over their teenage years. Tate even goes as far as to teach her how to read, write, and count, and even loaning her books once she becomes literate. Both share an interest in nature, and they eventually begin a romantic relationship. However, Kaya feels abandoned once again when Tate leaves for college and fails to keep his promise to return to her on the 4th of July. Over the next few years, her art skills and knowledge of biology grow by leaps and bounds, and Kaya sends her nature drawings and research to a publisher, which is something Tate had encouraged her to do. The income from the book allows for Kaya to be able to keep her family's property as it had been $800 past due in taxes. The publishing of Kaya's book also leads to her older brother, Jody, who is now a military veteran, coming back home to discover that she never left the marsh. Jody tells Kaya that their mother had wanted to find and reunite with all the children, but she became sick and died of leukemia. Jody then promises to visit Kaya whenever he can. It's now 1965, and Kaya is now 19 years old, and she becomes drawn into a sexual relationship with Chase Andrews, Barkley Cove's star quarterback, who promises to marry her. However, when Kaya discovers that Chase is already engaged to another girl, she furiously ends their relationship. Meanwhile, around the same time, Tate returns home to Barkley Cove, looking to apologize to Kaya for abandoning her and desiring to rekindle their romance. However, Kaya is unsure if she can trust him after being abandoned once before. Chase continues to pursue Kaya with desires to continue their sexual relationship, but she rebuffs him. So Chase then violently attacks and tries to rape Kaya, but she fights him off and loudly vows to kill him if he doesn't leave her alone, a threat that is overheard by a local fisherman due to how loudly the threat was made. Later on, Chase is found dead at the bottom of a water tower from which he has fallen from. The tower is located in a wet and muddy bog that gets flooded at high tide. As a result, the surrounding area lacks any tracks from the killer, and no fingerprints were found on the tower. A shell necklace that Kaya had given to Chase was also missing from his body, and he had been wearing it on the evening of his death. The following day, Kaya is arrested and charged with first-degree murder and prejudged by the overly zealous and suspicious townspeople who only know her as the Marsh Girl. Now, despite the knowledge that Kaya had been in Greenville to meet with a book publisher, the police still speculate that she might have disguised herself, made a quick round-trip bus tour back to Barclay Cove and the fire tower during the evening. The police, though, have very little evidence other than their unproven theory, the missing necklace, the fisherman's testimony, so they do not have a very strong case. Therefore, Kaya is found not guilty at her trial, which takes place in 1970. Our movie begins to close, and although Kaya and Tate never formally marry, they live together as loving partners. Over the years, Kaya publishes more books about the local nature, and she is visited frequently by Jody and his family. After Kaya's death in her mid-70s, Tate finds the missing necklace in a diary that she had hidden, along with a hostile reference to Chase, the only evidence that could have convicted her. Tate then leaves the shell from the necklace in the water, forever hiding Kyra's secret in her beloved marsh. I honestly didn't know what to expect from this film when I went in. I've never read the book, and I had only ever seen some of the little highlight buffer pieces, if you will, that would be shown in the movie theaters prior to other movies. Not even a trailer, but just some of like the behind the scenes on location stuff where they would talk to Daisy Edgar Jones, Reese Witherspoon, etc. about the making of the movie and some of the inspiration behind the movie and what attracted them to the book to make the movie, etc. So I knew nothing about this going in. But having watched those buffer pieces and everything, the passion that went into making this film, I was genuinely curious to see what it was about. So I went in there blind, completely unknowing what I was getting into. And holy hell, this was an amazing movie to me. The locations, the marsh, the swamps, the cinematography of all of it was just absolutely stunning. And then you get into the meat and the potatoes of the story of this girl who's constantly abandoned, first by her mother, then her siblings, then her father, then the man that she loves. And she ends up falling in with this kid who she thinks is in love with him, gives her body to him, loses her virginity to this kid, only to have her heart ripped out when she discovers he's engaged to someone else, and he's been lying to her this entire time. Then the man that she loved comes back to town, and there's that hint of jealousy between the man that she is with or was with and the man who just came back. Then you've got the attempted rape. Then you've got the murder. And all these people have motives. Tate could have done it to protect her. She could have done it because of the attempted rape. There's so much going here. There's people that see the way Chase treats her that could have done it out of defense for her. And we go through this entire trial kind of cutting back and forth between the trial and what's happened over her life. And you get this sense like maybe she didn't actually do it. And then you discover at the end that she did. And she was clever enough to keep the evidence hidden. But you still never see her commit the act. I think that was incredible storytelling. And the very end, when you watch Kaya and Tate as they grow over the years, and then she eventually dies, it kind of gave me a similar vibe to the beginning of Up. The difference here is that where the Crawdads Sing and that ending, watching her and Tate grow together in her past, gutted me and made me cry. Whereas the introduction of Up does not. And I think part of it has to do with, like I've said over the years, the beginning of Up was just so hyped up to me that I sat there and was like, okay, and? But I think the other reason that it gets to me is that you spend the 2 hours getting to know these characters, getting to know their lives. You get invested into them. And then it happens. As opposed to Up that just jumps right into it, giving it to you. And it's like, wait a minute, I haven't really built a connection to these characters yet for this to hit me the way that it should hit me. I thoroughly enjoyed Where the Crawdads Sing, though, and I highly recommend that if it is still in theaters, come the time that this video goes live, you get out there and you check it out. If by then it's been pulled from theaters, then as soon as it hits DVD, Blu-ray, streaming, whatever, make it a point to see this movie. I don't think you'll be disappointed. When it comes to my rating for this film, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. And I'm only giving it 4 right now because this was the first time I've seen this. If I were to come back and revisit this in like 5 years, I very easily could bump this up to a 5-star film. Then again, maybe I will see something in it that I didn't see the first time, and it would drop a little bit. But at this point in time, 4 stars for Where the Crawdads Sing from me. What do you guys think? Let me know if you're watching the premiere. Leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Let's engage in that conversation. You know I reply to you guys and your posts and your comments. Let's discuss this film because I'm curious to know what my audience thinks about Where the Crawdads Sing. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, where we will step once again into the war zone. That's right, it's time for another episode of the weekly acquisition report. And this one's going to be a little bit different as these movies were either bought from or traded from the Dollar Tree group that I'm in on Facebook. As happens a lot when you go to the same store all the time, you end up getting a bunch of the same movies. And over time, you end up upgrading your films in your collection, you know, from DVD to Blu-ray, from Blu-ray to 4K or whatever. So you just want to get rid of your doubles. So a lot of times in the Dollar Tree groups, you'll find people that for $1 or $2 are trying to offload all of their extra movies. So I picked up a few of them, and I've got a box here to the side of movies that I purchased off somebody in a Dollar Tree group, as well as some stuff that I traded with them that I'll be showing off to all of you guys tomorrow on the War Zone. So you're definitely going to want to make sure that you're here for that. Thank you to each and every one of my loyal fans and viewers out there who tuned in today. joined me for this. I look forward to seeing what you guys think of Where the Crawdads Sing. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that you turn that notification bell on so you know when a brand new video from me goes live. Make sure you share this video with your family, friends, loved ones, movie lovers that you know, fans of Reese Witherspoon, fans of Where the Crawdads Sing if they've read the book before. Get this video out there to anyone you can think of that may enjoy it so we can help boost up my visibility in the YouTube algorithms, help get me monetized by the end of the year. Thank you once again to each and every one of you who tuned in and joined me today, and I will see you guys next time.